Okay, Yishai, Fleisher here. Very special day today. I'm touring Mosab Hassan Yousef together with Knesset Member Ohad Tal, who used to, before he became a Knesset member, one of the things he did was a tour guide at the Western Wall tunnels. Let's get in there and see how these two amazing men are going to understand this historical place. One is the son of Hamas, the other one is a religious Zionist Knesset member, and we're at the Western Wall, the holiest and most central spot to the Jewish people. And today we're going to learn a lot about Jewish history, Islamic history, and the continuing battle for the narrative of Israel. Let's do it. Wow. I'm right next to the Western Wall in Jerusalem, Temple Mount right above it. And I'm here with two amazing gentlemen. First is Knesset Member Ohad Tal. He's a Knesset member for the Religious Zionist Party. What I didn't know is that he actually started his career here at the Western Wall as a tour guide at the Kotel tunnels because he wanted to go into education instead of the high tech that was calling to him. He said, no, I want to show the next generation what the story of Israel is really about. And to my left is somebody who really needs no introduction, son of Hamas, the Green Prince, Mosab Hassan Yousef. Here in Israel, he's a hero for standing up against radical Islam, coming from inside there, and very much being a person who understands the impulses of radical Islam because he comes from that house. One of the founders of Hamas is his father. He is a hero here in Israel. Everywhere we go, people stop him. People want to take selfies with him. And today we're with you, Ohad. Start us on a tour of the history of ancient Jerusalem and the foundations of the Temple Mount.
So we came here basically to uncover the truth, to reveal the truth for what it is, because for thousands of years, the Jews are connected to this place. The reason we are standing here today in the Free State of Israel, it's because for 2,000 years, we were yearning and missing to come back, hoping to come back to this place. It was covered for many years. The Arabs, the Muslims, they've tried to cover it, to hide it, to take it away from us, to disconnect us from our identity. Today, what we're gonna do is to go underneath the surface and to discover the truth for what it is.
Amazing, I'm very excited. Thank you for making the time actually to take us. I know you're a very busy person, so we really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to see the evidence that shows the true identity of the Holy City.
It's a pleasure and it's an honor to be here with you today. And I think you are fighting constantly, on a daily basis, paying heavy prices to defend the truth. So today we will just uncover a little bit more of that truth that you're fighting for.
Amazing, thank you very much.
Thank you. The temple used to be twice as high as the Dome of the Rock. Now the height of the Dome of the Rock is 24 meters. The temple used to be between 50 and 60 meters of high.
Wow.
So our sages said it looked like a mountain covered with snow because it used to be covered with white marble. So,
yeah. So for those who don't understand, this is the Dome of the Rock. The Dome of the Rock is built exactly on the top of the ruins of the Jewish temple.
Exactly.
And that's Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the more important, but the one that looks not as shiny to the Muslims. Most Muslims around the world, they don't actually know the difference between this building, the Dome of the Rock, and Al-Aqsa Mosque. This has the more significance than this.
For Islam.
For Islam.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And both, they look very, very sad structures, honestly.
Yeah.
Naturally, they don't belong here.
They don't belong here.
They came after, and just their location is irrelevant to the foundations of this place.
Right, exactly.
Here we are at the Kotel.
At the Kotel, the old city of Jerusalem, Temple Mount, thousands of years of history in one place.
Yeah, but it looks like what's above the ground is totally different than what's below the ground.
Like everything in the Middle East, right? Everything. There's one thing that everybody see, and there's one thing that really happens underneath. And what we'll do today is we will go underneath. We'll try to learn about what has happened here and what is still hidden under the ground.
Right. Well, this is the epicenter of the entire conflict. Call it war, whatever it is.
Right.
Let's not forget that October 7 came after the Al-Aqsa Mosque, Al-Aqsa flood.
Exactly.
And
Tufan al-Aqsa.
Tufan al-Aqsa, and where Al-Aqsa came from, based on what? I have a question for you.
Sure.
How do you feel? Forget about being a Knesset member, but how do you feel as a Jewish individual with all the attempts to erase the Jewish identity from the holiest Jewish site? How do you feel about that?
Wow, that's a great question. I grew up secular. For me, every time coming here to Jerusalem was a big deal. First time I came here, I felt like I came to a place that we've missed for thousands of years, and it made me want to be connected. And this is why I became religious as I am today. But I think we are the problem, because we are trying to forget our connection to this place and what is this war is even about.
Right.
Because most Israelis don't understand what you just said, that this is a war not for better economy in Gaza. This is a war for Jerusalem. They're saying it to funnel Aksa, as you just said. We're fooling ourselves to think, oh, it's for the prisoners, it's for the land. No, no, no. It's for the identity of this, and they're trying to take it away from us.
Because it begins with erasing the identity, then erasing the people.
Right.
And this has been going on, I think, for so long. And the world needs to understand this dynamic, the religious and ideological dimension. I personally, the way I see it, as someone who grew up in Islam, that this is a religious war, but from one side only.
Right, exactly.
Not the Jewish people don't consider this as a religious war against the Muslims, but the Muslims have been on an assault against the Jewish people. And I think if this is understood, then the conflict can be understood more easy.
100%.
Yeah.
Great. So we'll go inside. We'll start at the regular tour of the Western Wall tunnels, but then I'll take you to some new locations that are now being digged as we speak right now.
Sounds good.
Actually, I started my career here as a tour guide in the Western Wall. Shalom. Mosab Hassan Yousef, הנסיך הירוק.
שלום, וואו, איזה יופי. תודה שהבאתם את אוהד.
Soli is the CEO of the Western Wall Heritage
Wow,
Foundation.
thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you for the road to Ohad with you. Wow, enjoy. איזה
Thank
יופי.
you, thank you so much. Bye bye. Bye.
Lead the way.
Karina, let's go. We got into the Western Wall tunnels. This is an arch that is basically supporting structure for the houses above us of the Muslim quarter of today. But if we'll get inside, we'll understand why are these arches here and what's the story of this place. So if we'll get in.
So I assume that this was filled with dirt.
Right.
Then it was dug out. The dirt
Everything.
was dug out, so that now we have this shape.
Exactly. All the Western Wall tunnels, when we came here at the beginning, like after 1967, we started to dig, it was all covered with dirt all the way up to the... And some of these structures, as you can see, they've used them as water cisterns for the houses above. See, they opened this cover, and that was used as a water cistern for the house above.
Okay, so it's very important wherever we go that people understand that this has been a process for so long.
Since
Just
1967.
to bring the identity, the true identity of the city that has been actually buried.
Buried.
Same concept of burying the truth. Layers and layers of dirt,
Right.
of lies, of propaganda, trying to erase the true identity of the city. I don't want to say only the Jewish identity, but the true identity of the city.
Right. Exactly. Okay, so let's get inside.
Your Majesty.
Let's see which one of the rooms. Okay, let's do it here. Okay, so just to understand where are we now, we have a model here. That's the mountain. That's Mount Moriah. Okay, at the peak of Mount Moriah, according to Jewish tradition, there's a rock called the foundation stone. According to Jewish tradition, that's the place where all the world created from. This is where the binding of Isaac took place. And this is also where the first temple built by King Solomon used to be, right here at the peak of the mountain. The city of David is located here, southern to the area of Mount Moriah. The first temple was here 410 years, until the Babylonians came. They destroyed the temple and they've sent us to exile in Babylon for 70 years. In 70 years, the Jews in Babylon sitting on the rivers of Babylon, crying, but they're also remembering Zion. They're remembering Jerusalem. After 7 years of yearning, they're coming back and they're rebuilding The second temple exactly on the same location where the first temple used to be.
Do you mind, please, when you say Zion, what are you referring to?
So Zion is the reference for the mountain of God. That's the name. Jerusalem, Zion. When we say Zion, we mean that place, the mountain of God.
So basically, it's the rock
It's the rock.
where everything sits.
Exactly. That's the foundation of everything. The second temple was nothing like the first one because the new people who came from Babylon, they were poor people. The Bible tells us that the old people who came with them and remembered the first temple from when they were young, when the celebration, when they were celebrating the rebuilding of the second temple, they were crying. Everybody were happy, but they were crying because it was nothing like the first temple. But many years later, it's going to change because a new king will come, King Herod, which is a very mighty and wealthy king, and he wants everything to be as big as possible, and he will renovate the temple in an unbelievable way. What he did, the mountain itself wasn't enough for him because it's too small. He wanted to build the biggest temple in the world. The mountain is not big enough. Here he has another hill higher than Mount Moriah. On the two sides of the mountain, you have two valleys. So what he did is basically to take down this part, to cut off this part of the mountain. He filled these valleys with supporting structures, arches on top arches. He filled it up, and he surrounded everything with 4 massive walls. And this is how he created this platform, which we call up until today the Temple Mount. Okay, that's the Temple Mount Plaza. A huge plaza, massive walls, one to the south, one to the east, one to the north, and one to the west, the western wall. On this new plaza, he rebuilt the temple in a much more magnificent way. And so even our sages who didn't like Herod so much, they hated him actually, but even they admitted that if you haven't seen the temple of King Herod, you haven't seen a beautiful building in your life. But this beautiful temple wasn't here for a long time. On the eve of Tisha B'Av, 9th of Av, year 70, the Romans came here, they destroyed the temple, and again they've sent us for exile, this time for 2,000 years.
Where was the second exile?
Rome, and from there to all over the world. Almost 600 years after the destruction of the second Jewish temple, the Muslims came here for the first time. And for the first time, on the same place, exactly where the temple used to be, on the foundation stone, they've built the Dome of the Rock. This is why it's called the Dome of the Rock. And by the way, they built the Al-Aqsa Mosque here on the southern area.
Exactly, which is the Dome of the Rock is not as significant as Al-Aqsa Mosque. But this one has a golden dome where it catches the eye.
Exactly.
And most Muslims think that actually that this is Al-Aqsa Mosque, and they're mistaken. They don't even know their religion or their holy site.
According to the hadith, Omar, the Islamic leader who conquered Jerusalem, he had a Jew in his one of his ministers, Kaib. He was even a friend of Muhammad. He was a Jewish rabbi, Yemenite Jewish rabbi, who came together with Omar. And when they got to Temple Mount, Kaib wanted to take down his shoes because it's a holy site. And Omar told him, no, that's not holy for us anymore. And he built the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the southern part of the Temple Mount, facing Mecca, and with their backside towards that place. Yes, it used to be important because they believe in the Bible and Musa and King Dawood and all that, but that's not as significant as it used to be. We have a new Qibla, Mecca.
Even though Muhammad's first Qibla, which first direction or destination, was Temple Mount. Right.
When was it? After 622 on the Hijrah, when he went from Mecca to Medina. And in Medina, they had a big group of Jews there, and he wanted to convert them to Islam. And he wanted to tell them, look, I'm just like you. I'm also, the Qibla is to Jerusalem. After they didn't accept him, and he basically killed most of them, he didn't need the Qibla for Jerusalem, and then he changed it back to Mecca.
So basically, during the Dawah era, which was 15 years in Mecca, where Muhammad focused on preaching and trying to convince people that he was the Prophet of Allah. He was facing towards Temple Mount. That was his
First Qibla.
destination and his back to Mecca.
Right.
Then when he moved to Medina and became the jihad era, he turned his back on Jerusalem and faced Mecca.
Yeah. About 700 years ago, the Mamluks came here. They wanted to live close to Temple Mount. They didn't want to live here down at the valley. So they filled this whole valley also, again, just like Herod did, with many arches, supporting structures. All the valley, they covered the valley, and on top of all these arches, they've built what we call today the Muslim quarter. And therefore, basically what they've done is to cover most of the Western Wall. What we're seeing today here outside, the Western Wall Plaza, that's only 57 meters of almost half a kilometer, 488 meters, the length of the Western Wall until today. It's all here, only that it's covered by the houses of the Muslim quarter. And we are now standing right here, okay? What we're doing basically is to walk all the way under the houses of the Muslim quarter until we will actually see the Western Wall buried under the Muslim quarter, and we will walk along the Western Wall.
And by the way, not to offend anybody, but
Sure.
the Muslim quarter is the ugliest part of the old city.
And you know, for many years I was asked, how could it be? I mean, every day the municipality of Jerusalem cleans the Muslim quarter, wash the streets, collect all the rubbish, everything. And the day after, it looks like garbage again. And people ask me, why? Don't the municipality cares for that place? No, we do. We clean it every single evening, but they're throwing all their garbage on the streets. And I think that shows that they don't really care for this land. They don't really feel that it's theirs.
In the meantime, Jews don't enter the plaza out of respect for the holy site,
Right.
while the Muslims go in, trash it. They have their toilets on the top of it, their houses. It's the only place in the old city where when I walk, you smell stench.
Yeah.
And it's a culture. And if it wasn't for the Jerusalem municipality cleaning the mess they create, it would be a dumpster.
Right. Exactly.
First temple was how long ago?
3,000 years ago.
Okay, so there was a Jewish temple and a Jewish sovereignty in Jerusalem.
Right.
3,000 years ago. That's the first
3,000
temple.
years ago.
Then that last,
The first temple was built by King Solomon, minus 1,000.
right, so meaning say 3,000 years ago approximately. Fine.
Yeah.
Then that gets destroyed. Jews are exiled to Babylon.
410 years, the first temple. Then it was destroyed, 7 years of exile, and then they have returned. They rebuilt a second temple, and the second temple period was until 70,
of the
year
common
70.
era. This is what I want to get into people's heads. I want them to understand. 3,000 years ago, first Jewish sovereignty, first temple.
Right.
2,000 years ago, second temple stood.
2,500 years ago.
Right, but until about 2,000 years ago.
Right.
And that's what it looked like. We see that.
Right,
It's a huge
right.
structure.
Right. That's the temple during the time of King Herod. By the way, and we will see later on, in the times of the temple, most of the people of Jerusalem used to live here on the hill. You just came down from the Jewish quarter, right? So the hill, these are where the houses of most people used to be. And they didn't want to go through the valley, to go down to the valley and climb back again. So they built a bridge, a massive, massive bridge to connect the city with Temple Mount. And we are now actually standing under one of the supporting arches of that bridge, okay? So this is part of the original bridge that Jews used to walk on in order to get to Temple Mount. And
Basically, Zion's gate.
very good. This gate exists until today. Today, it's called the Gate of the Chain. And the Muslims are still walking. They don't understand that they're walking on a bridge. They're still walking on the same bridge. And they're getting through this gate into the Temple Mount.
Right. Yeah, no, they're clueless when it comes to the history and geography of the city. The thing is, what is this gate?
So we had 4 gates at the Western Wall and 2 gates at the Southern Wall. This gate, we'll see it later on,
Which is filled with dirt as of
filled
now.
with dirt.
Because the Muslims are not allowing
Of course.
anybody to go farther
Exactly,
in discovering the
exactly.
true identity of the city.
Exactly. They are not allowing us to dig anywhere behind the walls of the west of Temple Mount.
Why are they not allowing this? What's the problem?
Jerusalem is the most excavated city in the world. For 150 years, there are delegations from all over the world of people who came to excavate, to dig, to discover the secrets of Jerusalem. All over the city, beside one place, Temple Mount. What's in the control of the Muslims, they are not allowing anybody, not just Jews, to dig, because they don't want us to discover the truth about what has happened, what's the true story of that place.
It's the same thing as Islamophobia. Every time you try to question the Islamic ideology, they say Islamophobic. Try to silence everybody. And here, of course, they don't want the city digs deeper because it will reveal the true identity of the city.
Right.
And they want the truth to continue to be hidden.
Yeah. I want to show you something interesting here. Look at this rock here, this stone. You can see that it has Latin letters here, F-R-E-T. Fret, it's the name of the 10th Roman legion who destroyed Jerusalem. They were called Fretenses, and that's their name. They've stayed here after the destruction of Jerusalem. They've rebuilt Jerusalem as a pagan city called Ilia Capitolina. I don't know where they brought it from, but later on they used it, and they're still here.
This is graffiti from the Roman
This is a graffiti
legion, from the 10th Legion.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Wow, this is magnificent.
Since the Jews were kicked out of here, it was a constant struggle between many nations to control Jerusalem, but Jerusalem was never the capital of any other nation besides the Jewish people. It's definitely never been the capital of any Arab or Muslim country, never. Even those who came here and wanted to take Jerusalem from the Christians, they've never made Jerusalem into their capital. The capital was always in Damascus or in Mecca, never in Jerusalem.
Interesting. Even today, Jerusalem actually competes against Mecca. If you come to the Saudi Arabians, they would lose so much business if Jerusalem becomes more significant. It's not the first, it's not the second, it's the third important Islamic holy site.
Only for the Sunnis. For the Shia, it's not even that. Because for the Shia, there's another Najaf in Iraq. That's the third holiest place. Only for the Sunnis. But the Palestinians today, they're saying that they want Palestinian state with Jerusalem as its capital, right? It was never a capital of any Palestinian state, because first of all, the Palestinian state never existed. And it's also strange because the Jordanians, they've held Jerusalem for 19 years.
Did you actually lose it, or did Israel hand the keys to the Arabs and the Muslims in good faith in order to avoid confrontation and religious war?
In 1948, the Jordanians pushed in.
Exactly.
And they took control of the West Bank, Judea and Samaria. They took control of most of Jerusalem, not Western Jerusalem. Okay, what you're referring to is after 1967, after the War of Liberation, then there were some people in the Israeli government who didn't want to hold on to religious sites and thought that it would be a nice idea to hand the keys over, like you said, for religious tolerance and peace. You control the religious sites, that's going to work out fine. We'll control the land. They thought that would guarantee peace. They clearly didn't understand the regional mindset and the Arab mindset and the Muslim mindset.
Israel made the biggest mistake after the 1967 war by handing the keys. They should have seized the holy site and I don't want to say demolished Dome of the Rock, but at least found all the remains of the temple.
Second temple.
The second temple.
Yeah.
Because right now it's a lot more complicated and it could ignite global outrage. They rushed to rage for much less reasons. And it's all sitting on a false narrative, the whole thing. And the fact that the self-proclaimed Palestinians canceling archaeology, history, canceling the Jewish identity. It's not only the Muslims, also the Palestinians. They're going against science, they're going against facts, they're going against the truth.
Yeah.
And their claim, not only to the old city, it's even more ridiculous to claim Jerusalem.
Yeah.
They don't have any legitimate claim to any part of the land, not to mention their name is fake, their cause is bloody fake cause, and their entitlement for anything is ridiculous. And as long as the world try to appease them, the world is feeding a beast. And as we see right now, their cause is global.
Right.
And it's baseless, has no foundations.
Yeah.
The only foundations here I see, and as we're going to see later, is the Jewish foundations.
Right. And again, it's even more absurd because for 19 years, between 1948 and 1967, the Jordanians had the city of Jerusalem, the old city of Jerusalem. It was in their hands. If their goal was really to establish a Palestinian state with a capital in Jerusalem, why haven't they done that in all these 19 years? It only reveals that it's not really what they want. It's the whole Palestinian narrative as a story they're telling in order to destroy the state of Israel. That's the whole thing. When they're saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Free from what? Free from Jews. This is what they actually mean. They don't want us here. The whole mindset of people in the West who are thinking in a very Western way that, when you have a conflict with somebody, okay, so you sit, you negotiate, you compromise, you get half, and move on, right? Two states living side by side in peace and harmony. This is what Obama used to say all the time, right? They don't want that. They don't want two states living side by side. They want a state instead of Israel. And the fact that they haven't taken Jerusalem when they had it in their hands only proves that they don't really care for that.
If you go to the old city right now, where we are, if we go to the Arab market, we could buy cups, shirts, flags that have the map of the state of Israel, but it says the word Palestine on it. There's a replacement effort. There's an effort to erase the Jewish story here.
Well, Palestine as a concept meant to replace Israel. And the same way that Islam meant to replace Judaism. It's identity and property theft. There is no way around it. And the world, sooner or later, should understand this dynamic.
Okay, so we are going further down. If you were standing here during the time of the Second Temple, we wouldn't have seen everything above our heads. This arch is part of the bridge. That's the first layer of the massive bridge that was built 2,000 years ago by King Herod, connecting the city with the temple. Okay, the temple is right there. The city is above on the hill here. That's the first arch. And here you can see the second arch of the bridge, one on top of the other. That's what we've seen before. And we are going down now to the valley. And if you were walking here 2,000 years ago, it was all open.
There's a smell here.
Yeah.
It's a smell. It's very cool down here.
Right.
There's a smell of water.
Right.
There's a dampness. It's also very quiet here. There's something very peaceful about this place.
Right. So first of all, it's because we are walking underneath the houses of the Muslim quarter. The rain, the water that is running above on the houses, everything leaks here, and this is why you smell the water and you hear this peace and quiet, because basically we're not really underground, because that's the ground, okay?
This is the rock. This is the bedrock.
That's the bedrock. That's the bedrock of the valley. You can also see here stairs. Now this staircase, that's part of a ritual bath that the Jews used to go through before entering Temple Mount to purify themselves. So this is what we found here. And I remember when I was here as a young tour guide about 17 years ago, I remember when they dug this specific room, it was covered with dirt all the way. They had to, one bucket after the other, taking all the rubble here, and this is what we found here. But we found even more magnificent thing here. So what we are seeing here is a beautiful, beautiful structure also from the days of the Second Temple. You can see some pieces of it. It was destroyed, of course, but you can see this magnificent art that was made here that decorated this building. You can see these pillars here, they were destroyed, but this beautiful, beautiful building was probably the Supreme Court of the times of the Second Temple. Because the Supreme Court, what we call the Sanhedrin, used to be in the Temple Mount. But the Mishnah tells us that 40 years before the destruction of the temple, they moved the Supreme Court from the Temple Mount to the main street of Jerusalem, to where the shops used to be. And here we are. We found this beautiful, beautiful building, decorated just in the same structure, just like the temple. Probably that was the place. And how else do we know? Because if we will walk here, we will actually see the main street of Jerusalem, the shops from 2,000 years ago.
You know, they used to tell us in the mosque regarding the process to discover the old city. They used to say that the Jews have been using aged stone from outside to place it below the Al-Aqsa Mosque to fake the city and fake their identity.
Wow, it's such a developed lie system. They're saying we're liars and we're importing old stones.
Or aging them, like somehow using science to make the stones appear old, to just fool tourists and prove an identity that never existed.
You know what's very interesting? Why they haven't found any coin or rocks that proves any Palestinian history here? If it's so easy to use science to manipulate people, why they haven't managed to find even a single coin that proves any Palestinian history here?
No, they're not concerned of truth. They're not concerned of history. They don't read. The only thing they read is the Quran.
Right.
This is the word of God, and anything outside is untrue. I ask, why don't they come actually in tours here, bring their children, which they are allowed, if they come respectfully, to come and study and see all the evidence. So they, or just in principle, accept the Jewish right to exist, the Jewish right to worship. Look at Mecca. Not only the Jews, but the non-Muslims are not allowed to enter the city of Mecca. When you drive to the city of Mecca, there are two roads. One sign says Muslims, the other highway says non-Muslims. If you get caught in the city of Mecca as a non-Muslim, there are consequences. You get punished, basically, possibly arrested. So this is the reality of the Muslims. The most racist people on earth, but they play the victim card and they use the Islamophobia to just get away. They want to cancel everybody else, and that's the approach. So in this holy place, even though it's made of stones, but it tells the entire story. There are 2 billion people out there who actually believe in such myth. The whole Islamic structure above, the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque, is based on a 7th century myth. No less, no more.
Jerusalem is not mentioned in the Quran, not even once. Not even once. All the Quran, they're saying that Jerusalem is so significant to them. How can it be? It's not even mentioned in the Quran. Only in the Hadith you'll see Jerusalem.
Nor Palestine.
Of course, of course.
You will not find Palestine in any Islamic source. It's not an Islamic name.
I just want to point out that we're talking a lot about the challenges of Islam throughout the ages, the erasure of Jewish identity, of other people's identity in general. But to be in this room right now with the two of you, to really feel history, 2,000-year-old history, you can hear the voices of the street, of the Sanhedrin, the Supreme Court of Israel, having their discussions here. With all of the challenges that Israel has, it's an amazing feeling to be here. Victory, historical victory, is ours. Even though we're fighting all the time, there's oppression and there's hate, and Israel's facing a lot of hate today. Right now, being here underneath this reborn Jerusalem, it's an amazing sense of victory and actually peace. I actually feel peaceful here. Do you feel that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I agree with you, because otherwise I wouldn't be comfortable to come on such a tour in the face of hundreds of millions of people who label me all type of negative labels. If it wasn't for the concrete reality, this is the source. You cannot cancel this.
Right. You could try.
and all the attempts, I don't want to try.
No, the bad guys, they want to try.
If I want to try to cancel myself, I would cancel that. So we are talking about really false identity built on all this, and hundreds of millions, billions of people around the world are not accepting the simple truth. This is the holiest Jewish site. You know, the Muslims have multiple holy sites, and nobody's questioning them. Nobody's going to Mecca and say, I want to build my temple on the top of Al-Kaaba, you know. And the fact that they have such structure and they outrage. The same thing now in Europe. They're building thousands of mosques. Try to shut down a mosque or challenge an imam preaching hatred. Then they would outrage. So they have been ruling by intimidation. And there is also another side of the coin, which is temptation. The financial jihad, the Arab oil money, silencing people, compromising politicians, challenging bankers. Governments are afraid of them. And everyone who try to question or challenge the Islamic myth, which you see the outcome of it is violence. If the outcome of it was not violence, the destruction, October 7, suicide bombing attacks, and Islamic jihad on civilization, not only against the Jews, and all this global violence as a result of the Islamic myth and lies, then I wouldn't be concerned of it. This is not only the story of stones, it's representing something significant. And I think if we cannot convince the Muslims right now, because they are in total denial, they don't want to hear the truth, and if you try to challenge them, they become violent, then I tell you what we need to do. We need to explain to the Hindus, to the Buddhists, to the Christians, to the rest of the world, so they can understand. If the Muslims are allowed to do whatever they want,
you'll be cancelled. You'll all be cancelled.
Everyone will be next.
Yeah. By the way, they already done that. You know, again, so as we've said, Jerusalem was in their hands between 1948 and 1967. In those 19 years, Jews were definitely not allowed to go to the old city of Jerusalem. Christians were not allowed to go and worship in their holiest sites in the old city of Jerusalem. Nobody besides Muslims, as you said, just like happens in Mecca today. If you're not Muslim, you're not welcome here. You cannot go and you cannot worship. Since 1967, since Israel came back to the old city, everybody's welcome. Jews, Christians, Muslims, everybody can come here and worship God the way they want in their holiest sites. There's a real freedom for everybody to connect to God the way He wants. This is how it looks under Israeli control, and this is how it looked.
It's actually that Israel does not allow its citizens to go on Temple Mount, while the Muslims...
That's the absurd. That's
while the Muslims have the freedom to worship
Right.
on the holiest Jewish site.
Right, right. But as Yishai also said, we are moving forward also in this. Now Jews are allowed more and more to get to Temple Mount, and it's changing slowly but surely.
Yeah, well, my personal opinion, that Muslims should not be allowed, period. This is my personal opinion, but of course, there are so many components to this, and the consequences could be violent.
Yeah.
But for me, as a free thinker, as someone who has nothing to lose, and by the way, has nothing to gain out of this situation, it's just the direct observation and perception of truth the way it is, away from all the propaganda and the layers of lies and deception. I think it's Israel's right to prevent the Muslims from coming to this mosque because it's not theirs. And if it was up to me personally, and this might sound ridiculous, but I would dismantle the mosque, move it somewhere else. If they want it in Saudi Arabia, I would take it stone by stone, or I would duplicate the exact building anywhere they want. Mecca is very holy to them. Why not have it just next to the Kaaba?
Yeah.
I just want to say you're a Knesset member.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
that was...
Yeah, but this is not his opinion. You know, this is...
No,
this
but
is,
I'll tell you my opinion
This is the
also.
naked truth.
I mean, what's the purpose of everything? Okay, why are we even here? Why are we even here? Why God created the world? According to what we believe, God created the world in order for all of humanity to recognize Him. And that place, as Isaiah says in the Bible, should be a house of prayers for all nations. We are not against anybody else. Our mission is to come back here after 2,000 years of exile, as the prophets promised that one day will happen. You know, today it's a fact of life, But just think about it, 100 years ago, to imagine that the Jews will come back, will return from four corners of the world back to their ancestral homeland, it wasn't even an imagination. It happened, as the prophets promised. But what is the purpose? Isaiah says that at the end of the days, the temple will be firmly established at the peak of the mountains, and all nations shall stream to it, for my house shall be a house of prayers for all nations. That is our vision. We are the real religion of peace. This is our vision. We're not against anybody. We want everybody to come back to worship God in the same place.
The fact that everybody is welcome to worship on Temple Mount doesn't mean that everybody is welcome to build any structure that they want.
That's true. That's
so
true.
there is a protocol to follow,
right.
And there is a certain temple with certain dimensions
right.
that has been there multiple times and will be there.
Will be again.
Eventually will be there again. So the rest of the world are welcome to come and worship if they understand the holiness of the place. Dropping, first of all, their ego, dropping their false identities, dropping their filth outside of the holy site before they enter. There are protocols. And if they want troublemaking, like for example, to start building structure as a outcome of conquest and bloodshed, then this building becomes the symbol of aggression, of violence. It's anti-tolerance, it's anti-God. So hence, if they want to remove this Dome of the Rock, take it stone by stone, place it somewhere else where it's even more holy for them than Jerusalem, and allow the Jewish people to build their temple. If we succeed in doing this, there will be world peace.
Exactly. Wow. Okay, so what we're seeing here again is the original bridge that connected, as we've said, the hill with Temple Mount. And above our heads, I mean, that's the first layer. The people used to walk on the second layer of the bridge. And we will see in a second the western wall. And here we can see another ritual bath. We've said that for 150 years, there are delegations of archaeologists from all over the world who wants to come and excavate in Jerusalem. They were never allowed to do that in Temple Mount. Never. Nobody, no matter who he was, never was allowed to go to Temple Mount by the Muslims. Now, there was one guy called Captain Charles Warren, and he came here 150 years ago. And he wasn't allowed to dig in Temple Mount, so he digged around Temple Mount. So he digged shafts around Temple Mount to try and learn what happened here. Now, he came here to this place. He dug 24 shafts around Temple Mount. One of them, we can actually see here. He came from above, okay? You see that he took away one of the stones here, the arch of the bridge, of the ancient bridge from 2,000 years ago. I remind you that everything here was covered with dirt and rubble. It was all filled. So he dug here a shaft in this rubble, and he came here. He didn't notice that what he's breaking is an ancient ritual bath from 2,000 years ago, and he dug through the ritual bath, and he continued this direction, and he didn't understand what he saw on the way, because again, it was all filled with rubble.
Yeah, but the Muslims would say basically this ritual path is just a made up since the establishment of the State of Israel. How can we convince them otherwise? Maybe we can see an actual bath.
Okay, so let's see. Let's see here. By the way, this ritual bath was used not for people to wash, but for vessels. Oh, yeah.
It's crystal clear.
Beautiful, huh?
Wow.
It's amazing.
I have never seen this.
You've never seen
I've
this?
never seen this. I've never seen it. Certainly not close.
So I also remember that I was here when they dug this room. You can actually see here the original floor tiles. This is the original floor tiles from Second Temple period, 2,000 years ago, made by King Herod. The circus leading into the ritual bath. And a miracle happened to us here. Why? We didn't expect to find here water. But what happened was You see these holes here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes. Before you enter a new room that you want to excavate, because again, it's all covered, it's all full with rubble. So what do? You drill into the next room to see what you're getting out of there. What is waiting for you there? A rock, just soil, water. What is waiting for you? So you know how to dig the next room, okay? So they dug this room, okay. They wanted to dig the next room. So they started. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes. And suddenly, the sixth one, we've discovered that behind this wall, there's a water cistern.
Wow.
And so the water started to flow into the ritual bath. And what's even more amazing is that the whole pipes from 2,000 years ago that took the water out of the ritual bath, everything works until today. I mean, it's 2,000 years old, wow. And it still operates until today.
Wow. Wow. What is this water, you think?
So the water comes from the water cistern.
What about the quality of the water?
So as you can see, they're very, very clean. They're very clean. They're checking it once in a while to see if they're filth or not. I will not recommend going into the water because still we are under the houses of the Muslim quarter and there's many leaks from their sewage, and I would not recommend getting actually into the water.
But it smells good.
But it smells good. It smells good, and everything still works 2,000 years later. Unbelievable.
Amazing.
It smells good, it feels good.
Wow, it's crystal clear actually.
Yeah.
This is incredible. A whole city right beneath.
Yeah, a whole city. A whole city.
But you can't have a city without water.
Right.
Like water's like, this is the stuff of life right here.
Right.
You have to have it.
I mean, it's not only waters, it's baths, it's water system, it's looks like a courthouse, looks like shops, stores, roads,
yeah.
pillars.
Yeah.
You cannot deny that, I think.
You cannot deny that. That's a hard evidence. Everything here. Solomon's pools brought water to Jerusalem from
El
Arub and from the area of Gush Etzion, and there was an aqueduct leading the water from the Brechot Shlomo, from Solomon's pools, all the way, and it came here through the bridge into the temple.
Oh, wow.
And this aqueduct,
I told you
All the way from Al Arub.
yeah,
I remember.
How
I
many
told you.
kilometers?
it's about 60 kilometers,
Wow.
all in total. 60 because I mean, if it direct is much less, but all the way around the mountains, 60 kilometers, and he brought water, King Herod, from that area to the temple, and that aqueduct also used to go through the bridge into the temple.
It looks like their systems were more sophisticated than ours.
Much more sophisticated, and you haven't seen anything. I'll show you something later on. You'll be amazed.
Wow.
So what we are seeing here now, for the first time, we spoke a lot, and for the first time, we're actually seeing here the Western Wall, the original Western Wall. We are now standing underneath the Western Wall Plaza, where we were standing before, and you can easily see the continuation, the rest of the Western Wall that is buried under the houses of the Muslim quarter. You can see that the wall continued all the way here till down there. That was the main street of Jerusalem. This is also where their shops used to be. So when the Mishnah tells us that the Supreme Court was moved from the Temple Mount to the main street where the shops used to be, here it is. So we saw the magnificent structure. This is the entrance to some of the shops. Here, right here, there used to be shops. That was the main street, right underneath the Western Wall. And here we can actually see it. This structure that we have here, it was actually built later on by the Romans, by the 10th Legion Fretensis, that we saw his graffiti before. After they've stayed here and they've destroyed the temple, they've stayed and they started to build a theater right here. At some point, they haven't completed building this theater and they left, but that has remained until today.
Amazing. So basically, this is the western wall,
Right.
and right above us, where basically the worshippers come in thousands
Exactly.
to worship, where we see the traditional photos, people touching the wall,
Exactly.
just right above us. So basically, these pillars made of concrete were meant to give the support in order to dig out the dirt
Exactly.
and make this visible again.
Right. And I will show you after we will continue. I'll take you to a place where they're still digging right now.
Sounds great.
So you'll see a beautiful, beautiful excavation.
Let's do a psalm together. You know, we're talking about ancient stuff. King David wrote Psalms. This is Psalm 122. And it says like this: Shira Ma'alot LeDavid, a song of ascents for David, for King David. Samachti ve'omrim li Beit Adonai nelech. I was happy when they told me we're going to the house of God. That's what we're doing today. Omdot hayu ragleinu b'sha'arayich Yerushalayim. Our legs were standing at your gates, O Jerusalem. Yerushalayim habnuya ke'ir shechubra la yachdav. Jerusalem that is built as a city that is united together, or unites people together. Shesham alu shevatim shiftei yah edut leIsrael. There the tribes went up to pilgrimage, the tribes of God, a testimony to Israel, lehodot l'shem Adonai, to thank the name of God. Ki shama yashvu kisaot lemishpat, for there they sat in the chairs of justice, kisaot lebeit David, the chairs of the house of David. And that's what Ohad showed us, the Sanhedrin, which pronounced judgment. Sha'alu shalom Yerushalayim. Ask or pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Yishlayu ohavayach. There'll be a connection of your lovers to the peace of Jerusalem. Yehi shalom bechelech. There should be peace within your castles. Shalva ba'armonotayach. A calmness within your dwelling places. Lema'an achai v'rai. For the sake of my brothers and fellows. Edabra na shalom bach. I will speak peace about you, or one can also read it within you, right? Within you. That's what we are right now. Lema'an Beit Adonai Eloheinu. For the sake of the house of God, our Lord, Evaksha tov lach, I will ask goodness for you. Okay, so King David wrote that 3,000 years ago as his son was about to embark on the building of the first temple.
And there is, by the way, a story regarding David and his son Solomon. That one of them qualified to build the temple, the other did not qualify to build the temple regarding the Bible. Do you mind sharing the story with me?
Yes, of course. Beautiful. King David was the first king to unite all the Jews together and to bring the capital to Jerusalem. And he really wanted to build a temple. But God told him, no, you will not build a temple. Why? Because you spilt lots of blood. You've united the people. You've conquered the land. You had to kill all your enemies. You spilt lots of blood. So you will not build a temple, because the temple should be, as we've said before, a place of peace, a house of prayers for all nations. So only your son, Solomon, he will be the one to build the temple.
Wow, this is how holy the temple is in the Jewish tradition. It's not that David was a bloodthirsty king.
Right.
Just the outcome of the war
Right.
that was against the Jewish people. And the fact that God did not qualify him because he was a warrior more than, let's say, a prophet. So it's a very, very interesting story that in the Bible there is nothing hidden.
Right.
Everything is clear and transparent.
And these are the foundations of Jewish religion, of Jewish heritage. Okay, we are a religion of peace. So much so that the main king, the number one leader of the Jewish people, was forbidden from building the temple, not because he was bloodthirst, because he protected his people. He was a warrior. So he couldn't build the temple.
I mean, there is no war without bloodshed.
Yeah.
And what we are dealing with Gaza right now, Israel, for example, did not start this war, did not want this war at all. Israel left Gaza and gave the Gazans the opportunity to build, to prosper. But instead, they insisted on violence. October 7 was crossing all the red lines. Not according to the Israeli books. It was pure barbarism. There was no way in the world that Israel would just sit down and say, okay, there is a human shield situation and the terrorists weaponize civilians, so we can do nothing about it. Well, then what's going to be next? had Israel not retaliate. And Israel still hasn't finished the job
Exactly.
of making sure
Right.
that this would never happen again. And also for all the enemies of humanity who think that they can just invade, loot, rape, kidnap, take humans into slavery, that they understand that this is not only according the Jewish books or according Israel, this is according the Creator. Because if this to become legitimized and allowed, what does that mean? The end of humanity.
Right.
So some of us, unfortunately, will have to use the force. And in Israel case, it has been, and as a witness, and as someone who grew up in this conflict, that Israel used the force as the last and final resort. Israel has been extending its hands
Right.
to the Arabs and to the Muslims for peace since the beginning of its establishment. But they denied Israel right to exist, even though the truth, the facts, the stone, everything is a witness for the Jewish existence.
Wow. I'll tell you, we hate wars, as you've said. We hate wars. I can tell you, in the past 2 years, I've been to so many funerals. I've lost so many of my friends. My parents live in the city of Sderot. It's in the Gaza envelope. Sderot is one of the cities that was most heavily bombed by Gaza in the past 20 years. Okay, my father is an 84-year-old man that on October 7th, he had to run away from synagogue when they were shooting bullets all around him. We hate wars. But at this war, we have to win because, as you've said, this is a war between good and evil. This is a war against the forces of barbarism that if we will not demolish them, if we will not eliminate them, it will only expand. The message that will be sent to the world is that, as you've said, that if you can kill, you can slaughter, you can rape, you can kidnap, and you'll get away with that. Exactly. And that will destabilize not just Israel, it will destabilize the world. And therefore, I think the world should understand and wake up to realize they should support Israel for their interests, not for ours. By the way, you can see here.
This is a classic Herodian wall. With
Right.
The thing that sets apart the Herodian wall is the Herodian masonry.
Right.
These framed stones. We have them in Hebron at the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs.
Exactly.
Same guy built it. Like some of these stones weigh 400 tons, right? I mean, we're talking some insane.
So we're now going to see
You haven't seen the biggest yet.
the biggest. Now we're going to see the biggest.
And they're
but
all
guys,
set back a little bit,
Can
right?
I propose something?
Yeah.
I don't like praying in front of the camera, but maybe we can just say a prayer, each one on his own,
Yeah.
for the peace of Jerusalem.
Of course.
Okay,
Of course.
for the truth to prevail. The amount of propaganda and the amount of hatred, the violence out there, and who knows what's going to come, is magnificent. And I think really, if this is the bedrock of civilization, then this is the bedrock of peace. It all begins from here. So yes, we are in the midst of a war right now, and people
Right.
are dying, there is bloodshed, but at least maybe we can take a moment
can
and
definitely do
pray to the creator of the bedrock and what's above it, to give us peace and bring peace
Is
to the
this the
city
best
and to
place
the
for that prayer?
So I would recommend, I accept your offer. I recommend let's do it at the closest spot to the foundation
Amazing.
stone.
Shows
Okay?
us the way. Amazing.
So by the way, this is, you can see, this is how it looks before we're digging.
Touch them. It's so massive, so massive. You know, one time I was praying in the Western Wall. I leaned back like this on the Western Wall, just like that. I just leaned back. And a rabbi came over to me and said, "You can't do that. You're not allowed to take advantage of a synagogue. You're not allowed to lean on it as though it's like your couch. It's a holy thing. Don't like lean on it as though, it's like..."
I would say the same.
Right. That's right. That's exactly what he said to me. I learned that. That's called me'ilah, right? Me'ilah.
Yishai, brother, he always goes in trouble. Is this part of the water system?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we
yeah.
were basically in that room,
Right.
and the water system
Right,
would...
right.
Okay.
So that was the water system, the sewage canal under the main street. Here, this area was covered with the rocks of the main street of Jerusalem from back then, and that took the rain out of the street. And they've built the theater on the ruins of the street.
And that down there, that's the very bedrock where the wall meets the bedrock?
That's exactly where the wall meets the bedrock. Exactly.
Wow.
These are the foundations of the Western Wall.
Such a massive rock though.
Yeah.
Such a massive project.
But this is it, ground zero.
Ground zero. Okay, so once again, we're in the Western Wall, but that's a very unique and special spot in the Western Wall. And Yishai, can I ask you to help me for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, you'll walk all the way there. I'll tell you when to stop. Keep walking, keep walking. Look for the end of this stone.
Right there.
Exactly, right there. Okay, I'm going to the other side. Okay.
Wow.
All that is one stone.
Wow.
In the Western Wall.
From this point,
Right. Exactly.
To Yishai.
All the way to Yishai. That's almost
that's one stone.
one stone, almost 14 meters length, which means it's more than a bus.
14 meters.
14-meter length.
Wow.
The original height was 3.3 meters. And the depth is almost 4.5 meters.
Wow.
This
It's
stone-
one piece, one stone.
One piece. Now this stone alone weighs 570 tons, almost 600 tons. Like, I used to be a tank commander in the army. Merkava Mark IV, okay, the most massive tank Israel has, is about 80, 90 tons. So this stone alone is more than 6 modern tanks. Now I want to remind you, that's the 11th row, the 11th layer of the Western Wall.
Wow.
We still have that because that's again
Where we came from, basically.
exactly
also.
that's not the original level of the valley of the street from back then. That's the 10th layer of the wall.
So
that
basically,
means-
to go to the bedrock,
Right.
we need 11th levels.
Right.
And how did they get this rock up here?
So how did they brought this rock and put it here?
570 tons.
570 tons.
This is very interesting
The
question.
truth is we don't know up until today.
Somebody
how
told
they've
me
done
this
that.
is the third or the biggest stone
Right.
on Earth.
On Earth, exactly.
What is it?
Exactly.
The first, the second? the third?
I don't remember, so I don't want to say something I'm not sure of. But yeah, it's one of the most, the largest, the most massive
If
stones.
it's not the biggest, it's the third.
It's certainly
biggest.
one of the biggest in construction.
Right.
Like, okay,
This
you have
is
big
massive.
stones in the.
But it
bring
also
here.
tells a very, very special story. You can, if you look above, you'll see that it's broken. And you'll see that all the stones above it are not as beautiful, not similar to the original
This
stones.
must be the Mamluks.
Okay, exactly. So what happened here? On Tisha B'Av, on the night when the Romans destroyed the Second Temple, they were so furious at the Jews because the Jews gave them such a hard time because the struggle here, it was for 4 years they were fighting with the Jews. And only after 4 years they managed to conquer and destroy the temple. And because they were so furious, they wanted to really destroy everything. So they came to all the walls of Temple Mount and they started to knock down all the upper layers of the walls to the valley underneath. They throw down the stones, they throw it down, and they got to this one. They've tried to push it also to throw it down, and of course they didn't manage to do that. They didn't give up. They said, okay, we cannot push it down, we will break it. And you can see that they started to break
Wow.
the stone. At some point, probably it was just too much of a work, so they just gave up, they lost hope, and they've continued to break in other places, and they left this stone alone.
Wow.
Later on, when the Muslims came and built the Dome of the Rock on Temple Mount, they rebuilt also the walls of the Temple Mount, and this is what you can see here, stones which are not as smooth, not as beautiful, not as big as the original stones of the Western Wall. And by the way, this is what we're seeing also today at the Western Wall Plaza outside. The first 6 or 7 layers are the original stones of the Western Wall that you can recognize them according to the chiseling, the way they were chiseled with a frame and everything by King Herod 2,000 years ago. And then there's 4 rows from the early Muslim period when they built the Dome of the Rock, and all the smaller stones above, it's from the Mamluks and the Ottomans and renovations that was made in the last couple of years.
So this is basically from the Mamluk.
Right,
Muslim
this is from the
era.
Mamluks. Right.
I mean, like, look at the stones that they put there.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous in comparison
Right.
what we witnessed below,
Right,
what we are witnessing here.
right.
14 meter by 3.5 meter by
4.5.
4.5 meter. I mean, this requires very, very strong soul to bring it to existence. This is just,
Soul and mind.
this is like they built it in a hurry,
Yeah.
very similar to the attitude of a thief.
Yeah, we'll continue.
Aha!
I promised you before that we'll see one of the original gates of Temple Mount from 2,000 years ago. So here it is. You can actually see here the entrance. That's the doorstep. You can see here the structure of the gate. But then you should ask me, Rega, something doesn't work out because we are not at the level of the street. The street is below.
It's below.
And we're also not on the level of the Temple Mount Plaza because that's above us. So how did it work? So there used to be a staircase leading from the street way below to the gate. Okay, you can see we are staying now on one of the stairs, and here there's another one. Okay, it's higher. By the way, that's original. Yes. Okay, that's the original floor tiles of 2,000 years ago. So the staircase led to that place. In this gate is like a tunnel, about 100 meters, and then there's another staircase at the end of it.
That goes up to the plaza.
That goes up to the, so you basically 2 levels of climbing and then you get to Temple Mount.
So the discovery and the digging stopped at this level.
Right.
Okay, so now you're asking a good question.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. I was going to say, Knesset Member Ohad Tal, like, okay, we've dug all this stuff out. What's the problem here? Let's go through.
So you have
knock on the door.
You have a very bright mind. Why? Because the previous chief rabbi of the Western Wall, Rabbi Getz, he was initiating this whole project of digging the Western Wall tunnels. And when he came here, exactly like you just did, he thought to himself, okay, that's the way for me to get into Temple Mount and maybe even to find the treasures of the temple. And indeed, he started to dig. You can see, if you look above, you'll see, you can see that it's modern. They've started to dig here, and I have a picture at home of the digging, of the tunnel behind this. And they've started to dig inside Temple Mount very quietly, but unfortunately the Muslims in Temple Mount, they've discovered that they're digging and they made a whole problem around that. So we were pushed back and they've covered it, and actually they filled this gate with 3 meters of concrete in order to prevent...
They poured concrete into
They
it?
poured concrete into it.
So the concrete is a modern thing?
Yeah, behind that there's 3 meters of concrete to prevent any attempt of us to go inside, to penetrate, to go beyond the Western Wall.
Wow. That's a very radical step to take to make sure that somebody doesn't discover their identity.
It's ridiculous, really. And I think Israel should make a legislation that this should be dug out and find all the evidence. Treasures, symbols. And if the concern for the Al-Aqsa Mosque or the Dome of the Rock collapse, then we can do the same support that we did there to just make sure as a first step.
Yeah.
Eventually, I think as long as they are not allowing the Jewish temple to be built, the Dome of the Rock must be moved somewhere else. They don't have the right. This is the state of Israel. This is the capital of Israel. And this is the will of the majority of the people to connect to their source.
Right.
So the majority of the people should vote, and the rest of the world can swallow their pride and accept the simple truth.
And again, as you've said, that will bring a real peace, true peace to the area.
In Hebron, we have the same thing. They poured cement so that you can't go into the tombs of the forefathers and mothers. You can't go down there. Same thing here. They want to block you from finding your true thing. That's a kind of childish...
And look what it's filled with, dirt.
Yeah,
Right.
dirt. Exactly.
Right.
This is like now, the closer you get, the angrier they become.
Right, exactly.
And
And now we're going to go to the closest spot right here. So we are now standing at the closest spot in the Western Wall to the foundation stone, to the Holy of Holies. The foundation stone, it's basically, it's not a rock that you can take out, lift, and put it somewhere else, okay? It's the bedrock of the mountain. It's just the peak of Mount Moriah. We've said this is where the binding of Isaac took place. This is where the first temple used to be, the second temple. And not just the temple, the main room of the temple, they call the Holy of Holies, that only one person could reach to. Only the high priest, only once a year, on the holiest day of the year, Yom Kippur, he could go there. On the foundation stone in the first temple period, we had the Ark of the Covenant with the tablets. It was in it on the foundation stone. He would stand there, say a short prayer, and he would leave. And we are now standing exactly 97 meters from that holiest place for Jewish people. By the way, until today, Jews all over the world, their synagogues are facing that place. So that's the holiest place. That's the closest we can get to the Holy of Holies if we're not on Temple Mount. And we will stop here for a second as you suggested, and we can all say a small, short prayer for the peace of Jerusalem and for the peace of the world, for the reconnection of
For
Jews
the
to their
unity
roots.
and peace of Jerusalem.
Amen. Amen. Because of the location of this part in the western wall, as we've said, 97 meters from the foundation stone. So they've built a small synagogue here. We can actually see here the arch, which is head of the gate that we've seen before. This is a very, very special synagogue because it was built for the former chief rabbi of the western wall. And usually at midnight, there's a small group of rabbis, very scholared, who are coming here to say like very, very special prayers at midnight. At this
Every day.
every night, yeah, every night.
Mystics,
Mystic,
Kabbalists.
right, exactly.
In their mind, they're the pillars of the world. They're holding up the world through these prayers, honoring God in the middle of the night. Underneath the city, there's a piece here, there's a choir here, and these rabbis come at night, and this Jewish state allows that. Of course, allows them to come and it gives them the electricity, creates all the infrastructure to allow for that.
And the protection also. Otherwise, they would slaughter the rabbis.
So you can actually see here. These are modern blocks.
And behind it, the concrete.
And behind that, the concrete.
Wow. So they sealed the
They've
gate
sealed it.
to truth
Exactly.
with concrete.
Exactly. To hide, to cover it, to hide the truth for what it is.
Okay. As long as we are not able to go through the concrete that they poured in there, the world is going to continue to be divided. This is the wall of isolation, the wall of ignorance. This is what it is. It's ugly, and it should be removed, and we should go through, and eventually the Jewish temple should be rebuilt.
Amen.
Mosab, think for a second what it means to take something, there's archaeology there, there's something interesting there. To pour concrete on it, it's a type of murder, it's a type of there's something awful about
killing the
that.
truth.
Yeah, it's killing the truth. There's something awful about that. Even if you don't like the truth, to go and say, I know there's ancient stuff here, I don't want anybody to see it. It's a violence. By the way, the word Hamas in Hebrew means violence, means theft, a type of violent theft. That's what the word means. They didn't name Hamas because of that. That's what it means in Hebrew.
Right.
It means like a kind of
And it's not surprised that they named their barbaric attack on October 7 Al-Aqsa flood, which basically stands for the Al-Aqsa mosque sitting above, and all their attempt to hide the truth and to prevent the Jews from covering their temple. And
Are they scared of us, Mosab?
Well, I think they are scared of life. They are scared of truth. If they were decent human beings, they would actually glorify the Jewish temple. They would honor the Jewish people. Actually, most of their Quran, Hadith, Islamic laws are stolen from the Bible and from Jewish traditions. In fact, if you take the Jewish traditions from the Quran, from Islam would remain a stone or an idol buried in the Arabian desert. There is nothing about it. Everything. It's not only they stole the Jewish property here in Jerusalem, and they are trying still to steal Jerusalem and make it into their capital. It's the intellectual theft that the Islamic law without Judaism is nothing. So instead of being grateful, or at least to say, you are the original and we are the copy, they want to invert this truth and present themselves as the gatekeepers of truth, denying the Jewish people their originality. So this is the dynamic of this twist. And as you see, by the way, since October 7th, how they managed to invert the narrative.
Being the aggressors.
From actually a genocide committed on October 7th with intent to victims of genocide just a few weeks later. So it has been like this for 14 centuries, and the world, especially the silent majority, who are not familiar with history, with archaeology, and want to deny actually the biblical, archaeological, historical truth, let's say, and say, okay, this is just a bunch of stones, that they are meaningless, ignoring the Islamic attempt to cover it and to bury it in layers of dirt, of propaganda. So this is what they can deny as much as they want. But at the end of the day, the state of Israel today is on a legal basis, wins as well. So according to international law, it was born around the same time when Jordan was established, Lebanon, Syria, Egypt. All these countries are basically legitimate children of colonialism. So why Israel is the only illegal child? And so in every aspect, Israel wins. So for how long the world is going to buy in the Muslim or Palestinian propaganda, I don't know. And the more they buy into it, it is not going to get us closer to the truth. It's just taking us farther.
The more they're buying it, they're losing in their own countries because their own civilization is being taken by radical Islam. And they will pay the price. They will pay their price for trying to cover their eyes from seeing the truth.
I agree.
I don't know if you know this, but Mosab, just like we didn't know that you were a guide at the Knesset House, Mosab is a kind of interior design person.
Oh, wow.
And so
So what do you think about this synagogue?
This is wow.
This is one of the most unique and beautiful synagogues in the world, located just in front of the western wall.
It's like a plastic covering, but the stone
Right.
is real stone. There's lighting underneath.
Yeah.
I'm jealous of the stone. I want to do this in Hebron. Wow. It's great.
You need big budget for.
By the way, you know, there's a constant struggle between us because he represents the first capital, but I represent the main capital.
No, but the truth of the matter is Hebron is actually very proud of not struggling with it.
Right.
We
No, I'm
honor
kidding.
Jerusalem.
Of course,
We know
of
that
course.
Jerusalem is the place
Okay,
to...
we will give you a promotion if you just continue doing a good job.
Hebron is like Kyoto. It's like the first capital. You know what I mean?
Right,
we
right.
know about that. We're very
They are
proud
both.
of that.
They are both significant.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
both exactly.
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Both
But this is a beautiful synagogue built by an Israeli businessman.
Right.
And it's
Teshuva.
actually,
Yeah.
his name means repentance. His name is
Right.
Teshuva. You come here, this is a more Sephardic synagogue.
Can we step closer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Wow, this is.
In front of every one of our synagogues in the front is an ark, and this is actually a pretty unique one. And inside is the Torah, the 5 books of Moses written by a scribe on parchment. So it's a beautiful Aron Kodesh.
What a beautiful synagogue. This is the most beautiful synagogue I've ever been to. And there is just in front of us that 14-meter stone.
Right.
It will continue to be a mystery how they brought
to
it
be a
there.
mystery. Exactly.
It had to be a superpower, I think, supernatural
Who knows?
force.
Yeah.
This is as cool as it can be. I wish
Yeah.
I wish I would have a home like
Let me
this.
take a picture of you.
So I didn't know that you were a tour guide. And I have all the knowledge. This is really
You know,
incredible.
after
So just like basically, when Yishai told me a Knesset member comes, it's like, oh my God, here we go again. I didn't realize, that's, why didn't you tell me?
No.
It's
I'll tell you my story in a short. After my army service, I used to be a tank commander in the army. I fought in Gaza, by the way, in Jabalia,
Wow.
in Operation Defensive Shield. After the army, I worked in high tech for 2 years, and I couldn't stand it. I felt that this is not who I am, and it took me 2 years because I've earned a lot of money. It was I enjoyed it, but I felt it's not the truth. I decided I'm leaving, and I dedicated the next 20 years of my life for Jewish education. This is why I came here. Because exactly what you've said, because I felt that coming here and bringing groups of Jews to teach them, to show them their roots, That's the main mission that we have in our generation.
To show the world as
to
well.
show the world, to show the world what the truth. And this is what I've dedicated the past 20 years of my life for.
It's incredible. Amazing work.
Holy moly, come. That's behind the scenes of the behind the scenes.
Wow, it's mold in here.
Yeah.
Very humid.
Smelled, yeah, because here we're not still they don't have the systems still refreshing the air. So basically, again, we are meeting here the bedrock of the valley that was connecting the hill with Temple Mount. And what they've found here is a whole system of structures from the first temple period. It was covered by, later on you see the mosaic
Is that
stones.
pillar that we looking at?
You see exactly. You see the pillar there. You see the door frame that was carved into the bedrock. You see actually the bedrock of the mountain, and a whole system of structures from first temple period, covered by the later on layers of building that were built here.
It's first temple?
The first temple period.
Wow.
First temple period. And how do we know? Because we've found seals with ancient Hebrew mentioning the name of Jerusalem and mentioning the name of the cities that paid their taxes to the temple, all here. So it's like was
A treasury.
a treasury probably, or yeah, something of that sort.
Amazing.
So what we're seeing here is actually the excavations in a process, okay? We are again standing right underneath the Western Wall Plaza where all the men and women coming to pray in the Western Wall outside. You see these columns keeping the level of the Western Wall Plaza at place, and you can see all the rubble. Again, everything here was covered with this rubble, as you can see here.
Basically, all the sites we just saw through the tour used to be filled with this.
Exactly.
Then gradually this was
Right.
taken out
Right.
and it emptied, basically, so we can see it for what it is.
Exactly. And what we have found here also, as you will see in a second, is more shops and the main street of Jerusalem, but not from the time of King Herod and the temple from 2,000 years ago, but actually from the time of after the destruction. Okay, you can see here how they're digging, taking part by part, they're taking the rubble. They're using the buckets, they're filling the buckets with the rubble, taking it out. All these containers will be sorted, will be sifted, and they'll taking out all the small findings, the coins, the oil lamps, the vessels, everything will be sorted when they will sift it. Right.
It's incredible.
And the goal is to excavate this whole area all the way until we will see the kotel also here, as we've seen it in
But why don't we see the kotel right now there?
because
we're not there yet.
We haven't reached it yet. So this is where the Western Plaza begins.
I see. What's all this?
Okay.
This
so
whole
come,
world,
come
wow.
see. You can see how we sort the different fragments of the vessels according to the material, to the times, different eras.
Why are they soaking it in water?
Because sometimes if there's writing on it and it's covered with dirt, it's very hard to read it. So you have to soak it in water. After 2,000 years, it becomes one piece.
So basically I see like tons of,
Right.
of
The
evidence and
clay
symbols.
pieces, right, from the different time periods. You see, we found many arrowheads, as you can see here, also from different time periods, from the Babylonians, from the destruction of the Second Temple period.
Yeah, I see as far as 3,360 years.
Right. And by the way, we also find here a lot of Muslim findings,
But look,
artifacts.
638.
Exactly. We're not denying history. We're not denying that they were here. But let's look at the whole picture, understand the whole story, and not just part of the story.
Right.
We've said that after the temple been destroyed by the Romans wanted to erase, just like the Muslims today, they wanted to erase the Jewish connection to this place. So they've changed the name of Jerusalem to Ilia Capitolina. They've changed the name of the province from Judea to Palestina. They were the ones who started using the name Palestina in order to connect the land not to its Jewish roots, but to the Philistines who were here before. They were actually not even here. They were mainly next to the shore. But they wanted to erase the Jewish connection. This is why they renamed the province, they renamed the city, and they rebuilt it as a pagan city. And we are now actually walking on one of the main streets of Ilia Capitolina from the time after the destruction of the Second Temple. This is where we are right now.
This was built after the Second Temple,
Yeah.
or was it part of
Yeah.
the Second Temple?
No, this was built after the Second Temple. That's the main street of Ilia Capitolina.
And actually, what we can see that the road was built on the top of an older foundation.
And this is what we can see right there, exactly.
This wall there is basically where the digging ends, but it doesn't
Right.
mean that it's over.
Right. Here, behind this wall, we have the staircase that leads from the Jewish quarter to the western wall. And you're very right, because as you can see here, the tiles of the street of Ilia Capitolina, they're covering more ancient structure. And this is also from the First Temple period. It's also a treasury in which we've found many also seals and vessels from First Temple period carrying the name of Jerusalem and the cities that sent their taxes to the temple.
You know, Ohad, you've shown us now that in this part of the tour that Rome erased Jerusalem, erased its name, erased its main structure, the temple, the Second Temple, and basically rebuilt it in its image, in its name, got rid of the Jewish stuff, kicked the Jews out. So that was one of their processes. They were so angry at us for revolting against them. We actually revolted twice against them. But in any case, that was a process. Mosab is talking a lot about that from an Islamic point of view, but it looks like it was not just Islam that did this thing to erase Israel, erase Jerusalem, kick out the Jewish people, rename Jerusalem, rename Israel Palestine. It predates Islam, it looks like.
You're right. And I think if you ask me what's the theological explanation for that, I would say that I think humanity understand at the back of their mind that the Jewish people represent God in the world. And this is why they're trying to erase us from existence. Because they're not just trying to erase us, they're trying to erase God. This is what they're actually trying to do. Because, you know, I always think to myself, if an alien would come from outer space, right? And he would watch CNN or BBC or whatever, he would think that Israel is like this greatest empire, conquering all the world, enslaving people, committing genocide, doing all these horrible, horrible things. Now, we know that's not the truth, right? Because Israel is this tiny, tiny land that's throughout history, despite the fact that this is tiny land, we were willing to make concessions and to give pieces of our land to the Arabs, hoping, fooling ourselves that will bring us peace. We trying to avoid wars as much as we can. So that's the opposite of the truth, right? And yet the world is obsessed with us. You know how many people died in wars in the past 2 years? How many people died in Congo? How many people died in Syria? How many millions of people were displaced? Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about the amount of Palestinians in Gaza that were slaughtered by Hamas only in the past 2 weeks. Nobody's talking about them. Nobody's rallying for them in college campuses in America. They're obsessed with Israel. They're wanting, for thousands of years, not just the Muslims, even before that, the Romans and everybody before, they've tried to erase Israel from existence. So you ask yourself, why? Why is that so? And as I've said, I believe that it's because humanity tried to avoid recognizing God. And recognizing the right of the Jewish people for their homeland is basically recognizing that the Bible is true, and if the Bible is true, then God is real. And this is something that people are afraid to admit.
We'll see.
But this is also why I'm so certain that we will win. I'm certain. Because you see, history, despite everything, we are here, we're surviving, we're thriving, and it will happen. It can happen in a good way, it can happen in a bad way, but it will happen.
Well, you know, they can choose the peaceful way, or they can choose the hard way.
Yeah.
As someone who lived amongst them, I have traveled the world, and I have never seen such process of self-sabotage and self-inflicted trauma and catastrophe, only to blame Israel on the poor choices and poor judgment of people who are just in total denial of truth. I wish at some point they would admit that Israel is not only legitimate, is the most legitimate entity, nation, country, religion, or let's say a religious group in the region. As long as they just keep denying this as an attempt to legitimize themselves, I think there is going to be violence. That's why I might sound very harsh in many of my confrontations with the pro-Palestine or Palestinians, and I look like I'm trying to cancel their right to exist. No, I'm just questioning their legitimacy. Before you come to delegitimize the most legitimate nation in the region with overwhelming evidence, archaeology, artifacts, religion, Holy Scripture, why don't you show me what makes you legitimate to begin with, before you pose as a judge to cancel people's right to exist and to decide who has the right to live and who doesn't. This is the war.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we need to introduce Mosab. He's famous for fighting for truth. He's fighting for the people of Israel. He's the son of the person who established Hamas.
ואיפה אבא שלו היום?
Father today, where is he?
He was released recently from Israeli prison.
Oh,
So
really?
he's back home supposedly. We are not in touch. Tell him this was maybe the 30th release. My father spent something like more than 25 years in Israeli prisons. Many times.
הוא בקשר ממנו?
You're in touch with mother?
It's very dangerous. Even if I had, let's say, the capacity to speak to her, I would endanger her life if the society know that I'm in touch with them. So when my father decided to disown me, I honored his decision. For example, two of my siblings wanted to stay in touch with me regardless.
Wow.
And I told them to honor my father's decision because they would be in danger in their lives and my parents' life.
Are you married?
לא. בן כמה הוא?
How old are you?
47. It's really very hard to take a woman on a war.
Uh-huh.
It weakens me very, very much.
אני חושב שכדי שהוא יוכל, שיהיה לו עתיד טוב, הוא צריך גם להקים משפחה.
He thinks that for your good future, it's very important for you to build a family.
אני באמת מעריך מה שהוא עושה.
The rabbi said he appreciates very much of what you're doing.
זה לא קל.
It's not easy.
הוא שוחה נגד הזרם.
You're swimming against everyone.
Against the stream.
שאלוקים שם לו הגנה מול כל האויבים.
He believes that God will protect you against all your enemies.
אנחנו עם שספגנו המון 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 רדיפות וטרור לאורך כל השנים.
We are a nation that had always people running after us and want to kill us.
Persecution.
Many, many years.
אבל אנחנו מתפללים כל היום על שלום.
But we always pray for peace.
ואני באמת מאחל לו שאלוקים ישמור עליו.
The rabbi wants to bless you, that God will protect you
שישמיע את קולו בקול רעש גדול.
and keep on the good work and make it loud
ושהוא קול שנותן לנו אופטימיות.
and continue giving us the optimal way to think, to see that there's hope, that there's more people
What you're
like
doing,
you.
bring us through.
Thank you.
God bless you.
I wish I can do more.
למה הוא לא מנסה להתקשר לאבא שלו?
The Rabbi asked, why can't you contact your father? Because how can that pose danger to him? By who?
As of now, I don't have any dialogue between me and my father or anyone in the ranks of my enemies. My father chose the ranks of the enemy that want me dead.
רק הוא יכול לנהל דיאלוג עם אבא שלו.
He says only you could have a dialogue with your father, and you have to say to your dad, you're not going to win them.
ישכח מהם.
You're not going to defeat the Jews.
Yeah, well, he need to realize this on his own. Once he's able to surrender, okay, and put down his sword, and because his fight is not against the Jews, his fight is against the God of Israel, and this is why he cannot win. You know, my legitimate father, the heavenly father, my source, give me so much power that my father does not realize, he cannot even perceive. Not the Jews, not the Muslims, no one can understand this. And this power is not physical, it's not mental, it's not psychic, it's beyond that. At this stage of this war, of this conflict, there is no room for dialogue. I tried for about 15 years before we got to the point of October 7, and I tried hard. I tried to build bridges, even though they wanted me dead. I don't see a separation between me and the Creator. I'm just a hollow bamboo, but I'm extension of that source, of that power. And this body is just projection that eventually is going to vanish, but the truth will remain.
It's very special and moving to hear what you're saying. And he wishes you all the best. And
Thank you very much. Hopefully next time we will celebrate the victory over evil.
Amen.
אני רוצה לברך אותו,
Yeah.
שאלוקים ייתן לו כוח להמשיך להשמיע קול גדול למען שלום ונגד טרור ונגד שנאה ונגד אלה שרוצים להשמיד ולהרוג.
The Rabbi blesses you that you should have a lot of strength and power to win all the evil and all the bad that's around here.
Baruch Hashem, I have to say, thank God. That was one of the most amazing tours I've ever had. And we got it from a Knesset member who's rushing to do votes. We want to thank you so much, Ohad Tal, for taking the time. We know how busy you are, and we really appreciate it. I appreciate it. Just to bring the two of you together, really world leaders, it's an amazing thing. Mosab Hassan Yousef, behind us is the Temple Mount. There's the Golden Dome. What are you feeling at this moment?
It's really an amazing tour. Thank you so much for taking the time again. The evidence is overwhelming. And those who are in denial of the truth, who are basically focused on something that pleases the eye, which is the golden, shiny dome, they are ignoring the truth beneath and below. It's mind-blowing. I'm very happy that I got the opportunity to explore this firsthand. This is the only way to actually experience truth. First-hand perception, direct observation, and without relying on third sources. The world must understand that this city, the very identity of it, is a Jewish identity, and all the attempts trying to erase the Jewish identity or to erase the Jewish nation from this region shall fail. The Jewish people are rooted and as old as the bedrock that we are standing above.
Right. You know, usually I have a coin that I'm carrying with me, a coin that we found inside Temple Mount that carries ancient Hebrew letters saying on it, Holy Jerusalem, Yerushalayim HaKdosha. It's a 2,000 years old coin because we have the date when the coin was stamped. It was printed 2 years before the destruction of the Second Temple. 2,000 years old coin carrying Hebrew letters, carrying the name of Yerushalayim, of Jerusalem, the eternal capital of the Jewish people. And I think holding this coin in my hands as a member of the Israeli Knesset after 2,000 years, again in the city of Jerusalem, that shows the truth for everyone. You know, they're saying we are illegal occupiers. That's illegal occupied land. No, it's not. It's the story of the Jewish people returning back after 2,000 years of exile to its ancestral homeland. And thank you so much for coming and for being part of showing the truth to the world.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.